All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's going on?
Beautiful day. Game 2 tonight. Can't wait.
I'm looking forward to game 2, but before we get to that, I created a figure today, a horror figure. Want to know what his name is?
Yes.
Nico Ferguson Jr.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
Hey,
We got to do that one day. We got to create
we should do that.
just some figure. And Nico Ferguson Jr.
I was off the show for 30 minutes yesterday. Did all hell break loose?
There was a lot going on, but he's referencing, of course, the GM down in Dallas with the Mavs, Nico Ferguson Jr.
Which was ridiculous.
Did you see him come
his
out?
comments yesterday
I
when
wasn't
he,
sure.
if I was
couldn't
the
believe
owner
it.
and I heard that guy come out and he goes, I knew that Luka was popular, but I didn't have a clue he was that. But I would have absolutely got him
Immediately
an
you're out.
Uber and said, "You're going overseas."
Yes.
I meant to bring that up yesterday, but we just were into too many things. I thought that was one of the most ridiculous.
Oh, it was insane
thing.
world.
Yeah.
That's
This
when I
guy
started
runs that
calling him.
organization.
Yes. And
That's
he
when
said,
I created the figure, Nico Ferguson Jr.
yeah, he is Nico Ferguson Jr. because you have had 2 months to prepare for that press conference as well. That trade went
Yes.
down 2 months ago. All right. And he has been hiding in the shadows. And he finally gets up to the mic, and that's
What he
the
said.
answer. Is I was completely oblivious to how popular this guy was.
Knew he was good and the fans liked him, but not to that degree. That was just bizarro world.
That was a wild
That's
comment.
a crazy quote.
There
That's
were
the thing.
crazy commentary all over sports yesterday. So Nico Ferguson Jr., you had Jim Rutherford saying, "Hey, Luke and Jack Hughes, we're coming for you. Whenever you want to come out
He
to
didn't
Vancouver."
say that.
I know that, but he wasn't far off saying we
Just-
need to bring the brothers here. You had Dubas, Kyle Dubas
On
saying,
Eric
hope in
Carlson.
one hand and
Yeah.
you know what in the other. Then he talks about Carlson, like his ambition. No, his actions need to meet his ambitions.
Yeah.
The guy's been in the league
Yeah. 15
for 15 years.
I got news for you.
It's crazy.
If his actions aren't meeting what you want right now, they're not going to get any better.
I don't think Eric Carlson is going to be listening to Kyle Dubas and thinking, I need to completely revitalize myself and my career and adjust on the fly. He may have a great season next year,
Right.
but I don't think Eric is in a position where he's too concerned with what Kyle Dubas
Okay,
thinks.
you're-
I hate to break it to Kyle, but
Here's a crazy thought, though. He might have a great season next year. At what point are they going to retool where Geno Malkin is now 39, 40? Letang is right there. Sid is a year older. Like, at some point, you got to go, we are breaking the band up here. That's why I thought he signed a 7-year
Guys,
deal.
I've said it 100
I
times,
know.
and I'll say it again. The only way it could have worked in Pitt is you look at what's happened in Dallas and Washington. There's younger players that have taken over the team.
push you out.
And
Yeah.
the old regime is like secondary pieces. Tyler Seguin's, Jamie Benz,
Yep.
those type of guys. They're not the main guys.
Right.
When those old goats are your main guys, you were completely screwed.
yeah.
Completely screwed.
And
So true.
listen, we'll see what happens next year with Pittsburgh and Vancouver and the Dallas Mavericks, who are out, didn't make it into the
I know,
playoffs.
but that,
We'll get to
that
the
was
Leafs.
outrageous.
We'll get to the Leafs, but in the future, we just got to come up with characters. Like, one is Nico Ferguson Jr.
That was outrageous, though,
That
yesterday.
is going to be a reference for the rest of time. Is that Luka trade
Yeah.
and what immediately transpired? And listen, they were dealt a tough hand. Like Kyrie Irving blew his ACL out, and that was the end of the season, with or without Luka. I think when Kyrie went down, they were probably finished.
Right.
But I don't see how Nico Harrison possibly survives long term in
Can't
Dallas.
do it.
And then how
Can't do it because of the players. They'll have no trust.
they're not exactly. And furthermore, I don't know the guy, but how do you hire him somewhere else and say, here's the guy who traded Luka away?
Yeah. Can you pass me your resume, please? Your eyeballs would fall on the
It
desk
would.
when you read the
Yeah,
guy's
like
resume.
the introductory press conference somewhere else. Like, let's say, Bobby Webster moves on and Messiah goes, we're looking for somebody, and Nico Harrison comes in. Immediately, it's, can you just explain one more time
That's
how you traded Luka
That's
Doncic?
the opening question on the job interview.
Absolutely. Not what you're going to do with your new team,
No, the
what
best
your
part
plans
was
are.
when he brought it to the owner, he goes, when I brought it first to the owner, he kind of chuckled.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, oh, so he went from chuckling to nodding where he said, yeah, go ahead and do that? That is just crazy.
I mean, the flip side of it is what a power move where this guy had that much authority to sell the owner on trading the franchise player that everybody loves.
Prime.
He basically
What a
talked
move.
ownership into Luka will not be able to walk normally as early as next year.
Yeah. Like he had
They
it
were
all
like,
laid
okay,
out.
do it.
He had it all laid out.
Unless something crazy happens and Luka falls off of a cliff
Well-
in the next year.
Listen, you know what they need for the Lakers need those harmonica players tonight
What
to
the hell
set
was
them
that
up for the
last
game tonight. So I was watching just like you guys. We're all over the map. Last night was amazing. Last night was just an awesome Stanley Cup playoff night. That's one you're going to remember for a long time. Ovi wins it in overtime. The Stars score late, push it to overtime. Your boy Blackwell, Colin Blackwell, snipes the OT winner for
guy.
Dallas, your boy. And then McDavid has a night in the third period that should go right into the Hall of Fame.
That was ridiculous.
Right into the Hall of Fame. Yet they lose in the end, and we'll talk about it momentarily. But the Kings, the Canadian anthem was horrendous.
Yeah.
It was butchered so badly. I'm watching the game and I'm watching the anthems and I'm thinking, all right, there's Will Ferrell. It's L.A.
Yeah.
Kings, Oilers, McDavid, Draisaitl, Doughty, Kopitar. What a night. Canadian anthem was awful. And then they have harmonica players.
Whoever does game ops there should probably be not employed today.
Yet they won.
Well, they won.
Why don't do we have a little taste of the harmonicas? You guys want to hear some of the harmonicas that this is what was going
I saw
down.
it on Twitter because I was doing the Winnipeg-St. Louis game,
Right.
which was one of the best games I've
Unbelievable
seen in
game.
a long time.
2-1. Shifley is on fire. Connor's on fire. Hellebuck was great.
Yeah.
They're up 2-0. They can breathe a little bit easier in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So you go right in from that game,
The harmonica.
right in to this tone setter last night in LA.
If that doesn't get your juices flowing, I don't know
You
what
tweeted out
does.
McDavid's going to score 12 tonight.
I thought.
All right, I can't.
Okay.
Well,
But before we go on our first break, I want Joe from the Bridge to find something. It might be the King Daddy topper on that. Nashville has had the most miserable season of life, okay? And one of their last games of the year, they wheeled out a dude in a Preds jersey, and he did the anthem with bongos, okay?
oh, yeah. Do you remember that
I
guy?
remember that.
There's good.
It was
That might have been for the Leafs. The Leafs might have
It
been
was.
there that
It was
night.
Bongo Guy for the Leafs.
I think it was for the Leafs. It was on a Saturday night in Nashville.
I was just like, game ops people, you guys are getting crushed every night. You get a guy out there with a guitar with the best voice you've ever heard. You don't bring bongo guy.
I know. Get a country singer out
There
there.
have been, and this is, I guarantee you, Sports Center is going to run with all of this because that's what they do. They find amazing top tens. You remember, was it Flea with the bass?
Yes, that was Kobe's last home game, I believe,
Yes.
too. I think he had done it multiple times.
But that one was a tough, like,
that was a weird one.
there's been some, not the
Fergie
Roseanne
had an
Barr.
outrageous one at the NBA All-Star game. They
Yes.
were all laughing. They could not stop laughing.
She did. There was one, I remember Burton Cummings did the anthem
Yeah, the organ.
on his keyboard to kick off Grey Cup
Yeah, he had
100,
the
I think
organ.
it was.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was a bit of a.
I love Burton.
Listen, he's great Canadian.
Is that the one in Vegas?
No, that one I believe was at the Sky Dome. I think it
would've
was
been
like
here.
it was recent and it was quite something.
There's going to be,
But yeah,
that
the
one
harmonicas last night, man. Because you're Jeff Skinner. You haven't played in the playoffs in 15 years.
Yes.
And your introduction to get jacked for the game is the harmonicas.
Now, I hope
and
there's not an awful story behind that where it's like they allowed this group.
No.
that
I think they
been-
had. My understanding was that they had done it in the past, and it worked for them. And the reason I bring it up is
They won.
I'm getting a lot of hey, where's the fanny pack stuff? The Leafs are playing tonight, and I think in LA you got to think you're bringing back the harmonicas. If you won the game and you're superstitious whatsoever, I think that's the move.
You bring them back.
And you let the
because
crowd sing the anthem, which is always really cool.
It put them to sleep. It put the Oilers to sleep for 2 periods.
4-0, and I got to be honest, I shut it off because like Draisaitl scores with 4 seconds left,
Yeah,
and it's
4-1.
4-1, and I'm like, all right, they're not coming back.
It'll be a 6-2.
Yeah,
Like
it's-
maybe.
It's over.
No, the game was over. Oh, if you watch that from start for the first two periods, you were like, Edmonton is third in this game.
Yes. They had 8 shots or
they had
something.
8 shots. LA was all over them. LA was perfect to a T. There was just no time and space. They were just, and then McDavid and Draisaitl found one little inkling with like 7 seconds left in the second period. It's like, okay, there's a goal.
Dude, that
whatever.
McDavid, he was like,
He was
that
shot at-
Gavrikov and Kopitar, he was tossing them aside like they were small kids.
Mikey Anderson, like they
Yeah,
had
he was
Edmondson-
insane.
The game tying goal, he was on another, like it was like a video game.
Yeah.
Yet
was
the
on
assist, like even the 4-1 goal to Draisaitl is he's up at the blue line and
Yeah.
he cuts through traffic and he hits them.
Right.
And like he had 4 points last night, and they were 4 of the most incredible plays you'll ever see in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And
Right.
it was just remarkable. And they scored, 2 goals late to tie it. And then a knuckle puck beats Skinner.
Well, this is where you're sitting there going, he's 6'4" and hit the middle of the net.
it went
Over
through
in-
him
in,
in
like,
the middle.
He pushed over, like I watched it. It's 1:30 in the morning,
I
and I'm
know.
watching it on my computer and rewinding and going, where the hell? Now,
Bouchard was
Bouchard's-
horrendous.
Look at
last
it.
night.
he should have put an LA jersey on.
I
last
couldn't
night.
believe how bad he was. The
And he
third
had,
and fourth
3
goal.
points, but
Yeah.
he was awful.
I'm sorry, he was all, and Nurse wasn't much better. That
No.
pairing was a mess.
No, but like this goal, it's a rolling puck, and listen,
The Mighty Ducks knuckle puck.
Fogle does a good job. He jumps 4 feet in the air.
That's our boy Warren Fogle.
We
love
love
him.
Warren.
But what I don't understand, you mentioned the slide. The guy was dead nut center. So
And
it's
he
like, where are you
pushes
sliding
He's
to?
pushing, and he's choosing a side. He's pushing to the left. It goes dead center in the net with 40 seconds left after McDavid had just dragged that team.
You talk about pissing away a performance, man.
That's
my
what
thing,
I.
man.
But I thought about it though. Do you remember? Was it Draisaitl had 4 goals against Vegas and they lost that game 6-5 or something?
Yeah, I remember
Something
that.
ridiculous where we're like Draisaitl literally dominated and destroyed Vegas.
It's just a
and they lost.
completely wasted effort from the best player in the world, where he literally put them on his back and drags them back into the game. And yet he was on the ice at the end.
Yeah.
And they, Bouchard's waving at the puck, and
You could just pull out of the zone.
all you got to do is get out.
And-
Get
and-
to overtime. You've tied the game. You've tied the game. Get to overtime.
It was outrageous. Like that game, I don't know. And I would love like true serum to the guys on the bus afterwards saying, would you rather just have that 6-2?
Exactly. Are you happy you battled back, or was it even more demoralizing because you battled back and you threw it away?
Right. There's glass half empty, glass half full. Because hey, we exposed something here. Darcy Kemper was like that 5th goal can't go in.
You
Like, it
gotta
was
stop
underneath
that,
it.
man.
Like there's, Edmonton might have got some spark that way. Going okay, this is a Vezina candidate that doesn't give up more than 2 goals on home ice, and we put up a 5 spot. But you still lost, and the guy in your net,
I
isn't
am
making saves
terrified
either.
for him, man. And like the Skinner was awful, and the top pairing was bad, and that is a recipe for disaster in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Especially when there's no Ekholm around.
Well, that's it. And
Yeah.
and Nurse and Bouchard, his giveaways on the 3rd and 4th goal were unbelievable to watch live. Like
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Well, the
to
4th
watch
one
live.
was more egregious than the 3rd one. The 3rd one, he's fumbling around. The 4th one was like
Right in front of the
who's he
net.
passing it to?
Yeah, here you go. Take that for nothing. It was a
I
wild
need to know.
scene.
It was. I will say, if you stayed up, you got your money's worth.
Oh, it was a great night of hockey from start to finish.
I'll tell you. You want to talk about big boy hockey? That St. Louis, Winnipeg, like the hits in the first period. I thought guys weren't getting up. They
They had
getting
about a
up.
12-minute stretch. I don't know when it was. It might have been to end the second period, but I was watching it. I'm like, this might be the best hockey I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
Like, just you had to fight for every single inch. Guys were crushing each. It was just incredible hockey.
And I will say this: every game has been ref different. That one, I think the refs were like, "You guys decide. We're going to call penalties, but ones that are egregious or maybe a
Gonna
scoring
breakaway or
something
2-on-1
like
or
that.
something.
But outside of that, like there were hits that were
That Stanley hit on Kyrou last night.
it was like
unbelievable.
Bufflin. Remember
Yes.
that Bufflin Stone hit?
yeah.
That's one of the biggest hits you'll ever see in
got
your
up.
life.
He just got up and played.
Kept
Like
playing.
Snuggerud got
Didn't miss
crushed.
a shift.
Adam Lowry. The Shen brothers were chasing each other around. Like it was
an awesome game. And
unbelievable.
listen, it just rolls over,
Yeah,
right?
tonight.
You got game 2, Leafs Sens, and we're going to have Mark Giordano in studio for a couple hours. Gio's coming up at 5. We got Johnny coming up today. We've got Mike Camilleri coming up. Bonesy and Ralphie, we're going to be teeing up this game all afternoon. And I think the officiating is something you can't predict, but I am curious how it applies tonight because
It's going to be some kind of factor because all we talked about after game 1 was the Leafs power play, and the Sens didn't like, which they had a right on a couple of them. They didn't like some of the calls, so it's like, shame on you if you're going to be the first guy to take a dumb penalty tonight.
Well,
and I don't know what the expectation, and I'm sure the coaches and the players would like to know what the expectation is or the standard, because shame on you if you're the team that ends up in the box tonight. If you're Toronto, you knew it was coming. If you're Ottawa, you continue to take dumb penalties, whatever. But it's going to be a factor.
It's got to be competing penalties, but to me, you're like stupid ones in the offense. Like Ottawa took 4 in the offensive zone, 200 feet away from their net.
How does the referees work in the play? Is it the same 2 guys?
No.
No.
It's two
They
different guys
rotate
tonight.
through, and I guarantee the other night, again, regardless of what you think of them, they would have been reviewed, and you get written up. I found out a lot about referees throughout the regular season and stuff. There's reports that go in.
Oh,
they
yeah,
meet with
yeah.
their bosses and stuff like that.
Other than the Stutzla play, I thought that I wasn't like the refs were awful.
No,
No,
listen. It
and it's
depends
not the
on which
Leafs'
side you're
fault
at.
either.
It depends on which side you look at it, because you're like, oh, okay. The point being is the players dictate. Now, if the refs set the standard, then you have to go by what the refs are setting, the standard. So in the end, I would love to see what the standard is tonight. And both teams, I don't think it's going to be a highly penalized game. I think it's going to be the other way.
I would
2-2 or
I'd
3-3.
prefer that. I'd prefer
Play
that.
hockey.
Yeah, I would much prefer that. And at the same time, you will find out. And listen, it got carried away because the game was a blowout.
Yeah.
Ottawa started to try to push back and do things, and they got off their rocker a little bit. And you see, I get why Sens fans are bent out of shape, but that's it's not the Maple Leafs problem or their fault. They got called, and furthermore, they scored on them. And that's what made it a bigger storyline. If Ottawa kills all 6 power plays, it's such a momentum builder, and it's a completely different game.
We're
It's a
doing
different
hits
story.
on what's wrong with the Leafs power play.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a
So,
different story.
you take the penalties. Guess what? Ullmark can make a stop, or you can try to avoid William Nylander, who scored 45 goals this year, standing alone between the hash marks.
Yeah,
that's
Austin
on
Matthews
you.
on the back door for a one-timer.
Yes.
And so Sanderson goes to him and goes, "Okay, Ullmark, that's your guy. I'm going to take this."
That's
guy."
what I liked about the Leafs power play. It was, let's get after it and
Quick
what's
strike.
available. Yeah, it wasn't like William Nylander. It seems like during the regular season, a bunch of times he would have been like, I'm going to just toss this one out to Matthews and we're going to work it around. That shot was right there, right off the draw. Then you take it and you execute.
Well-
It was perfect. And the play with Mitch Marner, a lot of times they don't like to just chuck it down to the net and let John Tavares hack and whack, but that's what they did, and it ended up in the back of the net. Just get to business.
Yeah.
There's no sense of pissing around and throwing around the outside. Get it to the net and get bodies there and hack and whack. That's how you score goals in the playoffs on the power play.
If you look at Nylander's goal, I don't know if we can run it, but he does just a subtle little thing. He sells it.
Oh, for sure.
He sells that because he rolls his wrist at the last second, but he
Well,
sells.
Matthews isn't a bad decoy.
No,
either.
but that's what I'm saying. He sells it because he walks right in off a draw. So here's the formula that they did. They scored all 3 of their power play goals, I think, within the first 9 seconds or 10 seconds of dropping
Off
the
a
puck.
draw. Yeah.
Win the draw. That's one thing. That's huge. Here it is. Watch the little hesitation. That gets, Sanderson's got to spin out. I think Ullmark hesitated on that play because he's like, okay, what's coming at me? Mm-hmm. What's a viable option? And by the time he gets set, it's by him already because Nylander does a great job, which I call deception, is selling hey, I might roll my wrist over to a one-timer here, and no, I'm going to fire it back perfectly above the right pad. It's a great play. And to me, if you're Ottawa, your kill has to be, you got to win a draw or tie that draw. You've got to take away middle ice and try and force things outside. But the Leafs did a great job because they took what was afforded to them. Like Nylander's like, hey, middle's here. I'll take
exactly.
it.
And same thing with the
here.
Tavares goal. Marner's like, I've got a path to get this puck to the net. We got bodies at
And
the
there
net.
was
I'm going to do it.
nobody there for it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Tavares has a tip and a rebound before anybody gets to him.
Yeah.
Like that's on Ottawa's kill, but it's also a tribute to, the Leafs taking what's there for them. That's one secret. They've done a good job, especially last game, is like, hey, that hole's there, take it.
Well, and I think they've done a good job of saying the right things yesterday and today in terms of game one's past you, and Berube, indicated that it was a business-like practice yesterday, and Jake McCabe saying game one, great effort in game one doesn't mean much if you don't carry it over to tonight. But we talked about it yesterday. I do think tonight will say more about the Leafs and their approach to this and how business-like they are and how.
Absolutely.
Because, game one was on a platter for them. They came out flying. Building was rocking. Ottawa, Travis Green has indicated this. I don't think it surprises anyone. They were nervous. There were a lot of nerves, and a lot of the young guys were nervous, and the Leafs took advantage of that. They won't be as nervous tonight, and they're going to be much more desperate tonight. Ottawa, you're going to get a way better effort tonight.
Yeah, regardless of the situation, Hayes, if you go down 2 Cobb, you're putting yourself in a bad spot.
Exactly. And take a
no other way
page
around that.
out of what Winnipeg did last night. Completely different game. Game one was a barn burner, back and forth. Lead changes 5-3. Last night, it's a 2-1 game. They're two best players, best forwards anyway. Like Scheifele does it again. And how does he score? He goes right to the net. Like that was a beauty last night. Connor gets on the board again. That's more likely what's going to happen tonight. It's more likely 2-1, 3-2, and a checking battle game. And see if you can find a way to win that.
It's amazing how you can describe a goal where a guy just drives the net. It goes off the goalie, off the St. Louis player's leg, and into the net.
Yet I love the attitude.
It's in the playoffs.
Yes.
It's a beauty.
Put your shoulder down and go.
Because there's no other way around it. If you just want to turn up and look to the outside and keep it around the outside, it might never get to the net.
Right.
And the only way to do business, man.
And guess
the only way.
Who's in net is the hothead. He's been run into 3 or 4 times in the first 2 games.
Right.
Like run into. Scheifele's had a couple, net crashes. Adam Lowry had one. But Binnington's actually been in pretty good control. Like he might lose it on home ice. Now they're chasing it at 2-0. And I don't know what you heard. Your boy Monty had a couple comments last night where he said, hey, these are just lost battles.
Yep.
And we've got to find a way to be better. But there's been lots of collisions. And one word I used last night on the panel, like courageous hockey. Like courageous. Middle ice drive, might have to pay a price, might take a stick, might take a punch. Whatever it is, they got there. And Winnipeg did it.
Well, Scheifele had another play. It was in the third period, I think it was. He just put his head down and went to the net and said, I'm gonna pay for this one, but he did it anyway.
Yeah, and that's significant, man, because Winnipeg is in a situation where they have all the expectation.
Yep.
They've earned home ice. They've earned a good matchup. St. Louis has been a great story down the stretch, but Winnipeg's clearly the better team. And they took care of business.
But that's what's
exactly, and that's
special
what the
about
Leafs
the
have to do
playoffs.
tonight.
No matter how talented the Vegas Golden Knights are, or the Toronto Maple Leafs, or the Winnipeg Jets, or what your regular season record was, or how skilled your best players are, there's only one way to do business at this time of year. Because we've seen with Toronto how they tried to do business in the past. It was like, let's see if we can skill our way. It doesn't work, man. It doesn't work. If your best guys aren't committed to doing that, you will not win.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why I'm fascinated with, I always joke about the analytics, and that stuff does not mean absolutely squat this time of year.
Well, and the whole 5-on-5 conversation has I think been something Ottawa is trying to lean on. Like, we liked our game 5-on-5. Generally, if that's the case, that would indicate the other team didn't like their game 5-on-5, and I don't think the Leafs would have seen it that way. I don't think that's the way Craig Berube operates. I didn't like our game 5-on-5. He'd say we battled, we won. Now let's reset and go do it again in game 2.
Well, I don't think they got their ass handed to them.
I didn't see it that way either. And especially in the third period, the game's out of hand. It's over. And Ottawa was pushing, and Ottawa's got pride and all that. And the numbers can be very misleading. But I didn't sense that either. I didn't sense the ice was tilted one way or the other.
Yeah, I think what you try and sell in Ottawa is take the 3 power play goals out. This is a 3-2 game.
Right, exactly.
And that looks a lot different. But you go, if you're Travis Green going, smarten up, stay out of the box. You can't give a team like the Leafs or any other team that has high-end skill 6 opportunities in the power play.
Yeah, you're
in
toast.
the playoffs.
You're toast
You're
at
not
that
gonna
point.
you can't do that. So I think what you're trying to say is play it straight up and see what happens in how the chips fall.
I think one
but
thing
special
for the
teams were the difference the other night as far
Absolutely.
as the scoreboard. Because what did Ottawa have? 2 or 3?
Yeah, I think they were 0 for 3 on their power plays.
So they were outscored 3-0.
Yeah.
On special teams.
I think the Sens, if there's one thing they could take away from game one, yes, there's not a lot of experience. Yes, they look nervous. But the one thing is, like, you can't outwork everything come playoff time. You do have to prepare for a war, but you got to play better. Like, Tim Stützle's got to find a level. You saw a couple years ago when McDavid found out what the playoff level was, and he's an exception because he is unstoppable and he's a freak and he's the GOAT right now. But guys have to elevate to a different level where they play better. I'm sure the LA Kings are hoping Byfield is going to do that this year. But Tim Stützle, Batherson, they're younger guys. Like, they got to find a level that's way better than what they've ever done before.
Well,
it's not about out-hitting issues or it's like working hard or caring. You have to play way better than you ever have.
Well, here's something crazy, too. If the goalie, you talked about, 5, 6 real quality chances, and pretty much all of them
On
went
both
in,
sides.
Right, but on against Ottawa, pretty much all of them went in. You get 2 or 3 more saves. Now the score isn't as
it's
egregious.
mandatory.
Like, your goalie, I think, starts it all. It all starts there. Like, if Ullmark does not play well tonight,
No one's got
there's-
more pressure on them than
I would
Ullmark
think
tonight.
so. Like,
Yeah, it's
Ullmark's
not
got to
even-
play. He's got to play a lot better, and whether that's fair or unfair, the team in front of him has to protect middle ice, do everything that we talked about. But if he doesn't match the guy at the other end, big save for big save, or however you want to unfold, that's not the recipe. Because if you're looking at it, Ullmark's a big part of them having success.
And the way it's lined up, Jamie, when you're a wild card team playing the team that won the division, the way the Ottawa Senators are set up, for them to have a chance in the series, you would have to say their goaltender's going to have to steal them at least 2.
Well, he's got
right?
I don't
Ed's
think
gotta
there's
be
any
brilliant.
question.
We
with that.
said it about Hellebuck last night to calm everything down because there was questions around the goals he let in game one. And I said yesterday, what he's got to do is have a lockdown 2-1 hockey game to just shut everyone up and calm his teammates down. And it's just moving forward.
did it.
And that's what Linus Ullmark has to do for the Sens.
Very matter of fact. And I mean, listen, I don't think there's any questioning that Ullmark is going to have to do that, especially now. You're down 1.
Yeah.
Like he's going to have a performance or two in this building.
And the guy at the other end too. This is his first kick at the can.
Yes.
Of playing 2 days later and 2 days later. Like he's got to follow it up.
Always pressure on the
again, you
goalies.
get goal support, you get other factors that come in, but ultimately, you start there and then you build out and go, okay, where's the pressure lie? There.
Yep. And you push that aside and you look at the whiteboards and the battles and again, it's the Leafs, Matthews, Tavares, their 1-2 punch up the middle of the ice. They do not have Stanley Cup runs. They do not have Stanley Cup final experience, but they've played a lot of games, and Stützle and Cousins have played 2 combined. And that's one area that, we've talked about it, but not extensively. Up the middle of the ice with those 2, and even throw Pinto in there. Pinto, that's his first game.
Yep.
They played 3 combined playoff games, and they were all the other night. So if you've got Matthews and Tavares, and you're looking at Stützle and Cousins, that's a battle I think Craig Berube should feel comfortable with.
I know. It's an unforgiving league, though. It's not like you can say, hey, just take this series and take something out. You got to be better tonight.
Well, absolutely.
You
and
know,
that's what I'm saying.
You got to
Your
taste
best
it. You
players.
saw what goes on out there. Be better tonight.
Absolutely.
It's a now league.
They have to.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it later this afternoon where Brady Tkachuk comes into play. And yesterday it was referenced, well, look what he did at the Four Nations. He was playing with Eichel and Matthews. Now he needs Stützle. You need your centerman.
Right.
Like you need your centerman to step up. And Brady's going to do his thing and crash and bang and open up ice. And you saw it 50 times.
I didn't
Stützle's
think Brady
got to
had
take advantage of it.
I didn't think Brady had a bad night the other night. Like if it looks different if he scores on that breakaway.
Yeah.
That he was physical. I didn't think he was being stupid. He wasn't the guy, punching people in the face but he has to be somebody that has to be contended with. Like that's what you're talking about. Like be a force where they can't stop him in front of the net or whatever,
Create ice.
whatever he's able to do for his line mates.
And
That's
then
the biggest
if
challenge.
and when he does that, again, his line mates, they've got to pounce.
Yeah.
Right. And Giroux, I didn't like Giroux's night the other night at all, but he's the veteran. That's
He
the
was
thing.
very noticeable.
That's the way they're building that line. I think you got 2 guys with no playoff experience and then Claude Giroux.
Right.
And that's, we'll see what Green does tonight. There's some indication he may change up the lines, may change up the lineup. Nick Cousins may step in, and I think there's going to be changes on defense as well, possibly. But more on that later this afternoon. Mark Giordano will be in studio from 5 to 7 today. We got Mike Camilleri coming up today, Mike Johnson, Bonesy, and Ralphie. The game on TSN 1050 tonight. Confirm or deny coming up as well. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Boston trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, there he is, the original Nico Ferguson Jr.
What a character he would be in a horror movie.
I can't
Nico
believe that.
Fergie Jr.
Yeah. I cannot confirm or deny that I ever considered how popular Luka Doncic was to the Dallas market.
Fergie on Elm Street.
Yes. There you go. Fergie Ween.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
That is one of the most outrageous still. Like thinking about that comment. One of the most
I had no
outrageous-
idea.
No idea how popular.
Guys, let's
Yeah.
be real. Like, I know I get a little bit crazy with some of my comments. As soon as that comes out of his mouth, it's a fireable offense. It really...
I think it kind of has to be when you consider you had a long time to prepare for it, and you have to say something
Dude,
different
Charles
than
Barkley
that.
is one of his good friends, and he went on the panel yesterday, and he goes, "Look, man, I like you. You're my friend. You got to stop talking.
Yeah.
You just have to stop talking."
Speaking of that panel, did you see Shaq last night?
Shaq had himself a problem.
Shaq mid
Just got
panel.
up.
Yeah, mid segment said, "I have to leave."
But Charles
And that guy
throws-
cannot be inconspicuous.
Charles
He's
throws
7
him under
feet
the bus
tall.
and goes, "You got to go dump or something." Like that.
Yeah, and I think Kenny's like, "Hey, big fella." He calls him big fella
big
too,
fella.
which I know you hate that, and I'm sure Shaq doesn't love it either. And as Shaq gets up, Kenny's like, "Where you going, big fella?" And Shaq just took off.
And then
But how did you go? How do you know that that's what he?
Well, why else would you leave mid segment?
he goes, "We're live on TV." That's what Kenny said. We're
Yeah.
live on TV. And Shaq's like, keep going,
Yeah.
keep going. And he walks out the door. And then Charles goes, "Light
"Bring a match." Yeah, make sure you bring a match.
Are we allowed to play it? We should have
I don't
it.
see why
Like,
not.
Oh
I mean,
my God.
I don't know if we have it or not.
It
but
was brilliant. I watched it 20 times. Because
Yeah.
the way he walks, too, you could tell he was having a problem.
he was you in Kitchener, man.
Dude, if you had seen me waddle out to that volleyball court like a penguin, you would have passed out. Anyway, confirm or deny?
Confirm or deny.
Yes.
All right, I have a feeling. Noodles may not have to answer this. This may be you and I.
Okay.
All right, because I got a couple that I think I know how Noodles is going to answer. If Ullmark struggles tonight, Travis Green should consider a switch for Game 3.
Dude, deny.
Confirm
Come
or
on.
deny.
Please tell this guy that's a ridiculous.
All right.
Well, I'll weigh in.
What
too,
if
but
he's
you guys-
awful tonight?
I think you.
Dude, he makes $8 million a year. You're going back to him.
Okay.
It is. Yeah, I don't think it's. I think the leash is longer.
Mm-hmm.
I think the leash is longer with Ullmark.
It better
than would
be.
on a Stuart Skinner. That's.
Well, we'll get to him in a
but,
moment.
But the right now, if he struggles tonight, I still think he starts Game 3. Unless something crazy happens and Forsberg comes in and stands on his head and they come back and win or something, then
Right.
you have that debate. But if you're asking me right now, I say he starts Game 3.
There is no
regardless.
way in hell you're seeing.
Okay.
There's
That-
no way in hell
I'll
you're
deny it
seeing
as
the
well,
other-
but look, we're looking at his stats. You know, his playoff history is Ullmark. It's just not that good, man. Like that, he has more pressure on him than anyone on the ice tonight. That goes without saying. I would maybe argue any player going into Game 2 league wide because of what you just said. They have paid him to be the man.
$8 million a year.
Well, and he is their man.
Yes.
But like if they end up losing, I don't think in the end, I mean, we'll do a post-mortem regardless after this series. But if they end up losing, it's probably a combination of, yes, him, but also other things.
Absolutely.
factors.
And we've broken that all down, the
so it's
defensive breakdowns.
all of that
and-
type of stuff. But
All
it
right.
just in the end, I would say
I'll deny it.
I'm denying it,
I'll
and
deny it.
that's my reasoning why.
Okay, and that is reasonable, and you got to trust your guy. And you can't, Travis Green just 2 days ago with the elephant in the room and all. You can't one more game later say, actually, there was an elephant in the room and this guy's coming out.
Yeah.
All right, how about this one? Confirm or deny, Calvin Pickard of the Edmonton Oilers will start at least one game against the Kings.
I'm going to deny it. He could do some mop-up work. Dude,
I'm confirming this one. I would maybe think of putting him in game 2. I would be so angry last night if I was Chris
They did it against
Knoblauch.
Van last year.
They did it, but
Skinner's
that was
been awful this year. Let's call it what it is.
Very inconsistent.
He
yes.
has not played well. You battle back and you give up that goal. That is, I don't know, man.
Dude,
you guys tell me. You've been in the room before, but that
it's
would
the
be
goal,
sickening.
and it's also wasting away the McJesus.
That's
night.
my point.
It's like when you have that night, you got to lock that down for a victory, man. You say, "Let's roll, boys."
So your previous question, I thought like we were bullish on that.
Mm-hmm.
This one I'm less bullish on. I'll be honest, because of Stuart Skinner inconsistency this year, hurt down the stretch. Pickard wasn't a guy who went like 8-5. Like he had 21 wins,
Played a lot,
22 wins for them. Like played very well. They trusted him. He was aggressive. They knew exactly how he was going to play. But I still think it's Skinner's net with just a shorter leash. I'd say it's one more start and allow him to see if they can bounce back. Keep in mind, the Edmonton Oilers stunk for 2 periods.
Yes,
like that
they did.
wasn't
Was not just
McJesus
him.
from the drop of the puck, and they just couldn't control him. 8 shots on goal, bad chances against, Bouchard, muffins up the middle. Like there was
Yep,
a
right.
lot of things, but I do believe the leash is a lot shorter for Stuart Skinner than it is for Ullmark and other goaltenders through the league.
Absolutely, and it was not just him,
Right.
Like including McDavid through 40 minutes. Like
Yeah,
he
they-
didn't do
they weren't-
anything
they
the
weren't
first
great.
like 30 minutes of the game. They really,
They
Draisaitl had
6
some
shots on goal after 30 minutes.
Right, exactly.
6.
Their 9th shot went in. I believe
Yes.
it was Draisaitl.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
With 7 seconds to go. But it is concerning that that's how it starts.
Didn't play well, but that's again
Game 1, and they struggle game 1s as well, and they.
thing is though you got to win games. Like
Yes.
last night I was joking because I thought I was going to see an O tweet, but he wasn't awake. But like, oh, they got a point, or Montreal comes back, got a point out of it. Like Montreal, they storm back. In my mind, I'm like they're winning that.
I
game.
love their third period.
I loved it.
I thought they played great in the third.
I thought that they were gonna
I thought they're winning that game.
flip the
So did I.
switch, and Washington would have been like, "Oh boy, what have we got our hands?" Because the first half of that hockey game,
They beat the hell out of Montreal.
dude,
they weren't in it.
They were just standing around watching, and they were like, "You want to talk about like deer in the headlights?" They were like, "Oh, this is what the." But then they figured it out, and Marty St. Louis said it best. He goes, "There's nothing to write here. Like they figured it out, and they learned that they were in a different environment, and they
Yeah.
figured it out on their own in game.
Yeah.
Which is a credit to them.
Well,
they just couldn't close. They had some bozo stuff go on at the end of the game with that icing, and Patrick Laine drives me nuts watching him play 5-on-5 because he's another player, just like Elias Pettersson, where I think he could be so good. Yeah. Patrick Laine, guys, if he was dialed in, if you put Tom Wilson's intensity on Patrick Laine, you're going to have one of the best players that ever played the game. But he just is, he's gotten himself to a point where he only wants to do work on the power play, and it bothers the hell out of me.
Well, and it's dangerous when you've got him with the kid, too.
Right.
Like Demidov is trying to figure it out. And
Yeah,
it's
and he
like,
sees this guy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the playoffs. Yes, he got buried. The ref, they could have waved off the icing in overtime.
Right.
They could have waved it off. We've seen that a lot. But then you look at the draw, like Laine's just waving at him. Like it just.
You know what it is?
And Ovi just goes, I'll stand here and
But
thank you.
you know
I'm
what
You don't
that
wave
is,
at
though?
anything at
And
that.
Hudson, too. Was not,
they weren't great on that play. That's regular season intensity in a playoff game.
absolutely.
Well, we were just talking about that Winnipeg game. Those guys were playing for keeps. That effort from Line A and Hudson, I thought was late on the play. Like that's regular season going, hey, the rotation missed it or whatever. There has to be a desire to go, this is not on my watch. This isn't going in. I'll chop that guy in half before he gets to the front of the net. And yes, there's a penalty involved or whatever. It wasn't. That was still regular season intensity
exactly
out
what
of
it
a
was.
couple guys, and I didn't like that.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. All right, let me skip the next one, Joe. I'll get to this because we're talking about it. Confirm or deny, Alex Ovechkin's Game 1 will be more memorable than Connor McDavid's Game 1.
Like 2 weeks from now?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll go first. I'm going to confirm it because Ovi had 2 goals, an OT winner. He had an assist. He had 3 points.
He was the
threw that
ultimate performer
monster hit early in the game. And McDavid's was unbelievable, but they lost.
Yeah.
So for me, it's
I gotta
Ovi.
deny it. I just thought what McDavid did, like, dude, when it's 5-2 and 4-1, it's usually curtains in the third period, and that guy went absolutely nuts last night.
Yeah,
Hayes,
I hear you.
Here's where I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to say here's where I'll deny it. If they follow it, if
Fergie comment, if I've ever
Nico,
heard.
No.
Please continue, Nico.
Give me a
Nico
second.
Fergie Jr., go ahead.
2 days from now or tomorrow. When do they play again? Tomorrow.
Yeah.
If McDavid follows it up and Edmonton wins the game and he's lights out, you tie that game to tomorrow's game.
Yes.
And go see what he did in game
He
1.
came alive and now
came
it's
alive.
over.
Like maybe they've awoken or he's awakened a monster type of thing. That's the only way you remember that McDavid effort over Ovi is if it continues on in a progression. So you're going game 2, he was a nightmare for LA. Well, it started in game 1, that third period.
And I think that is very valid. And if he has a big night in a game 2, he's going to be leading the league in points.
Right, you're
and
going like this
here he
guy
is. He's alive. What are you going to do with this guy?
It was 4 points, right?
Yeah, he had a goal and 3 assists last night, and they were beauties. But Ovi, like he scores the first goal of the game from his office.
Yes.
Then he scores the OT winner. Again, he threw hits. He went after Demidov a couple times last night to be
40
like,
years old, and he's playing like that.
yeah. For me, it's Ovechkin.
That
Because
wrister from the slot, like with momentum going towards the net, just like his record-breaking goal, it's just that is such a missile, man.
Yeah, it's
It
crazy.
is. Now, it clicked something, right? Did you see it change directions a little bit? Because Montembeault kind of was playing it, and then it went over on the blocker side. Craig and I looked at it 5 times because I was like, did I touch something? Because it looked like it waffled a bit, like it turned. But he throws it so quickly.
He gets it off
He
with
gets it
heat,
off
man.
so quickly.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And there is serious action
More
on it.
memorable for sure because they won the game and he delivered it.
And he's never scored an OT winner in the
That's
playoffs.
the crazy thing. Never.
It was a great celebration, everything. It was heartbreaking for the Habs, clearly, but Ovechkin, he's had such a magical year. He's the captain of the 1 seed. They were almost threw it away, and he ends up winning it for them. It was, I thought,
magical.
yeah, it was a great night for Ovechkin. That is for sure. All right, more confirm or denies throughout the afternoon. Mark Giordano coming up. Gio will be in studio at 5 o'clock. MJ still to come. Mike Camilleri coming up. Charging towards Game 2, Leafs and Sens tonight. Also, the Battle of Florida kicking off tonight. It's about time. And see Matthew Tkachuk out there. He looks good, man. Tkachuk looks
Game
good.
time decision.
We'll see. I have a feeling he's going to play.
Paul Murray said they got to clear some things with the medical stuff.
Yeah, well, there was that report, I guess, that the league wasn't ecstatic with the long-term IR. Maybe that's why Evander Kane didn't play last night. Maybe the league is like, I don't love that Matthew Tkachuk is going to be flying tonight.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, that'll be interesting.
Oh, what? They just decided to not like that?
Well, exactly. Like, why now? You've had all these guys do it forever.
I think it's ridiculous that because you're right. It's not, by all accounts, Evander Kane could have played last night.
Yes.
He'll probably play tomorrow.
Exactly. So
it's
it's a 1-game suspension if you're on long time? Anyway, we'll get into it with Gio.
Yeah.
We'll get into it with other guys later this afternoon. But it's a big night of hockey again. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Game 2 tonight, Leafs and Sens. Mark Giordano in studio coming up in about 10 minutes. Seeing that looks like the Jays have sent Easton Lucas back down to AAA.
And as soon as they get traction and you're like, I'm all in on these guys, they're going to turn it around. Like,
Well, they got
start
down,
getting
was it
paced.
Steven Cobb?
Yeah, they've lost 3 in a row now. Their bats are asleep. They still don't hit for power. They've faced some very difficult pitching the last week or week and a half.
Well, what? It's the big leagues. What the hell do you think? You looking for
Exactly.
an Easton Lucas to wheel out there on the mound? Like,
I understand that. And like Bo Bichette has still not hit a home run.
Well,
the other guy's got one.
I think
It's
they got
staggering.
12 total, don't they, on the season?
Vladdy, yeah, exactly. I think they're 29th or 30th in all of Major League Baseball in team home runs.
Yeah.
Santander's got 2. Vladdy's got 1. Bo has not hit a home run. It's staggering. Bo's gone like 230, 240 at-bats without a home run.
But when we talked to Ross, he said, just wait until it happens because they're
Just a
hitting
matter of
guy
time
or
there.
whatever. It was like,
believe.
wait
I
until
know.
this thing starts happening. You're going to go nuts.
They've been saying the same thing for 2 years. It's right there. It's right there. They're going to break out. Once they do,
watch out.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, they had won 3 in a row prior to this, and now they lose 3 in a row, and still a game over 500. But, the American League, it doesn't look loaded, yet the Yankees are there, and the Yankees, what have they got, 14, 15 wins? And Yankees are going to get to 90-something wins. That's just the way it goes.
That's just what they do.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Garrett Cole's out for the year. It doesn't matter. They're going to get to 90 wins. So
he's done for the whole year.
He's out. He had Tommy John. He's done. He'll miss, I think, maybe parts of next year too.
Yeah, they're 14-9. The Yankees.
Yeah.
The Red Sox
couple
are
games over
13-11. Yeah, and the Jays are 12-11.
Yeah. So listen, it's a decent start. You're in the hunt here. There's going to be ups and downs, but it's very likely the Yankees are going to do what they always do. And if they end up winning the division, then you're talking wild card. And that's probably 86 wins, 87. We all know what the numbers are going to be.
Yeah.
But if you don't hit for power, you can't sustain success. You have to hit for power in baseball. You have to.
They just gave a guy $500 million to hit for power.
And it is long overdue, Vladdy, to go on a heater here. It's time to get cooking here. You're more than 20 games into the season. Get rocking here. Same thing with Bichette, Santander, all the boys.
Are we saying that somebody said this to me the other day. Do we save $500 million? Because that's U.S. Or do we say 720?
That's true. You want to go Canadian? It's a lot more than $500 million.
Exactly. With that exchange rate, you're looking at north of 700 sheets.
$700 million Canadian.
Yes.
Let's get going here. Come on. Big expectations. Come on, Vladdy.
Yeah.
All right, game 2 tonight. Battle of Ontario. Mark Giordano will be in studio. We'll get his take on the games we saw last night as well. There's a lot going on in the hockey world. We'll continue with that. Hour 2 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.